Here we are. Hey, everybody, welcome into the Beehive. And today we have a guest joining us, Mr. Space Miner. Hello, hello. How are we doing?
What up, y'all?
Chew, welcome in. Joseph Lopez, thanks for being here. Hey, guys, how you guys doing? So today I thought I would jump on and have a chat
What
with
up, Q?
everybody and go over a couple different little topics here. Um, yeah, so one of the things I want to go over here is and this is, I think this is going to be a personal, decision on everybody's part, but I want to talk a little bit about my stance on selling silver and some of the things that I hear from hearing other people talk about it, new people getting in, and older people who've been doing it for longer, and how I fit into all of that. And the underlying question is, why would you sell your silver if you think it's such a good investment? And hey, Happy Tiger and OTG, welcome in. Thanks for being here. So yeah, why would you sell your silver? And there's different ways of looking at it. And I think one way people view this is they see someone selling silver and they just apply it to anything else that you would buy or sell in a store. And it's not necessarily the case for everyone like me in particular. I'm just a stacker, and I just decided, well, I can just stack for myself and keep it quiet. That's probably a very smart move, for that's what I would normally recommend for most people, unless you decided to do something like I did, or like Space Miner did, which was, create a channel and go on and talk about it. And why would I do that? Well, because I do believe in it. I do think it's a good tangible piece of wealth that's going to preserve your purchasing power, and now in the time that we live in, possibly even grow your wealth for you. Um so in my case, where I am a first place, I'm a stacker, and from that point of view, like I said, you can do that quietly yourself and no one needs to know about it, and you constantly buy silver, and that's what I was doing. And um so but if you're like me, I decided, well, I want to go and I want to, talk with the community. And when I went to start, I didn't think there was that many stacking channels out there. And so I thought, well, I'll throw myself in the mix. And because some of the people that I enjoyed their auctions a lot, like the Spectacular is one of the people who I first started buying from online, and like Silver Dragons, and back some of these original channels, and but they weren't selling anymore online. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go myself, and continue to stack. So with someone like me who is just a stacker and decides they're going to sell a little bit as well, it brings me maybe to a different mindset than a lot of people on selling goods and items, because um with stacking, it's not something that I need to sell, like, so I'm not under any pressure to sell, is kind of the thing. In fact, I'm not really out here to make money. This is my idea was never, oh, I'm going to go out and sell metals and get rich. Like that's not my idea. What I'm out here trying to do is is meet the community, build a community, talk to the community, try to raise awareness on the true value of our fiat dollar that has, been rapidly losing its purchasing power. And that leads into so many different problems in society. And if you don't understand that core thing, that this fiat is eating away at everyone's stability. And so that's kind of why I went out into the communities. I wanted to help raise awareness. And if someone decides, well, I don't know, they learn from me, oh, you need to buy metals, and where can I go, and how do I trust it? Well, you can buy from me. That's why I decided I would sell a little too, because I can put information out to the community, and I can even sell some metal to somebody. Now, I'm not a huge seller dealing with big transactions, but I can sell a few ounces here and there. But again, it's not for me. I don't have to sell. So, that kind of leads into the rest of my question is, should you haggle over price? And, in my case, no, I don't haggle over price. Now, I might occasionally adjust my prices and I go up and down with the market. But I have a basic ratio that I go by, and that's just what I sell at. Now, it's not much of a profit at all, but it is a little profit, so I just kind of keep that line. And but if I, if I don't sell anything, it doesn't hurt me, because I'm happy to keep the product that I'm holding on to, because it's not like other products in the market necessarily, like, selling pizza. If you're making a bunch of pizza and you market it too high of a value and people aren't buying your pizza, you're in trouble. You're going to either end up throwing all that pizza in the trash, eating it all yourself, or, whatever, throwing it away or what, you're not going to recoup your value there if you don't meet the public's desire and whatever that selling point is at, to where they're like, oh, that's a good value for that pizza, I'll buy it. And so I think that a lot of people take that same mentality, like you're selling pizzas, and apply it to metals. And some people think that if you're not selling continually, you're losing value, or you're losing profit. Now, you might say, yeah, you're losing a bit of profit, but the value is the key with precious metals. And that's why it doesn't hurt me to not sell. I'm just as happy holding. In fact, that's where I was before I decided I'd sell a little bit. I'm just stacking it. So that's what I do, if I put it on camera or not. And so I just, buy a little bit of extra metal. And while I talk about gold and silver, I offer it to the community. Maybe they like a certain product that I have, or whatever that they see while I'm talking about precious metals, and they want to buy it. And I offer that, the ability to. But again, I'm in it for the value in holding the silver. I make money when just by holding it, just by preserving it. So the longer I hold the metal, the better I'm doing, in a sense. In that, when I bought in, the value of silver was much lower than it is now. So I'm glad I didn't sell all my silver, is kind of the thing. So there's this balance in there, where for someone like me, now it might be different for AppMex if you have a bunch of employees, and I know there's different circumstances, but there's this kind of thought process that I see and hear about, like, oh, well, some of these people don't haggle on their price, and therefore, they're not a good company, or they're not a good, salesman, and it's not necessarily like that, with, depending on what position you're in. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to point that out. And what do you think, Space Miner? Do you understand where I'm coming from on this, or?
Buddy, you just planted an orchard and then you grew it up and you started an economy with that introduction. Holy moly. There's a lot to unpack there. One of the first things that struck me about what you were saying was that, when you're comparing the difference between these large bullion guys and the small businessman, right? And you
Yeah.
were mentioning, the strategic differences in that, right? Well, when you want to bid these multi-million-dollar contracts, yeah, all of a sudden arguing pennies makes difference,
Right.
and
Right.
because we're talking about a difference in 10, 50, $100,000 difference on the price of that product, right?
Yep.
Which is a large number. But when you're talking about a small entrepreneur trying to flip 20 cents, flip the difference of 20 cents,
Yep.
a buck, $2. I mean, that difference can happen overnight. And
Yep.
you could really, what you were trying to strategically perform to profit became detriment to you.
Yep.
Like you sell it off and you're like, woo, I was a good quote unquote laser beams, good businessman.
Right.
And I let him drive me to my bottom dollar to suit my customer, right? And then you're like, no biggie, I'll wake up in the morning, I'll make my order, right? And tomorrow it's up $3. And you're going, well, not only did I lose my margin, I lost my buyback,
Exactly. And then
and now
some.
you're running in the red.
Yep.
So when we're talking about these issues, there is no one size fits all. Like every bit of this is strategic, and it's timing, and it's situational. And so in a small entrepreneur might definitely be in the benefit by maybe not turning it over so fast, because he might very well gain profit instead of, because if he can't replace that soon enough, by the time he's paid shipping, your price per piece on a smaller order is going to be a lot more of just shipping per piece.
Yep.
You order
Exactly.
2 pieces and you pay $15 in shipping. Well, you just paid $7 in shipping a silver round,
Yep.
and so you got to add that to your price. And so when you're talking about like bargaining now, or haggling, excuse me, when you're talking about haggling with a guy, who are you trying to haggle with? If you're trying to haggle with the big bullion, he doesn't give a dang about your haggle unless you're swinging a million at him,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep.
And if you're talking about the entrepreneur, it seems like you're just trying to cut a guy out of making a life for himself,
Exactly right. Yeah.
And
Yep.
so
We got.
it could be a touchy subject that I think we're really hitting on here. I really think it's
I suppose. I suppose I just, I hear different things out there about it, and I thought, man, I think it's just coming from, you see how the rest of the world in the sales market operates, and you kind of just come into silver and gold and precious metals, and you think, oh, this must operate in the exact same way, when it doesn't necessarily. We have a comment here from Petrol. I had a coin store offer me a premium on my price valuation on Friday. Patrol, and that's a good
sounds
coin
like they're
store.
trying to be reasonable.
Yeah, I mean it's an honest place. If they're like, you could probably do a little bit better, and I could do better yet. And that's kind of the thing with like me and small operations like us, especially some of us that have YouTube channels that are putting ourselves out there. We're not doing it to rip people off. I mean, that's the furthest thing from my mind. I'm trying to help people and get them in at a good price and make them happy and give them some information to understand what's going on. And so yeah, I'm going to give people the best price that I can, but that's the best price that I can. I can't go any lower than that, so
Sorry, wish the guy before me would have sold it a little cheaper. Maybe I could have done a little bit more.
Yeah. I think that like Troll here says it. That's that's something. If you find a good store, they're going to be, upright with you and say, I think you can even do better than that. And that's to me, that's what that's what I think is now starting to happen in some of the precious metal area, where I think it used to be kind of get a pretty bad rap for ripping people off or something. From some of the, it seems like we're kind of fighting an uphill battle where people in the public think that you're out to get them, and that's just not the case.
Well, let's go back to spot for a second. I think right now it's important to talk about what spot price is.
Yeah.
This is the bid, and the ask. And these are the two extremes to a purchase. That
Right.
silver is not the value that they put. It's not that middle number that's on the screen. It's
Right.
not.
Right.
And people tend to go real strict by this.
Yep.
Like, it's worth $23.09 today. I don't give a damn what you say. And it's
Exactly.
like, it's not. It's
Right.
worth it. Some guys thinks it's worth a lot more, and some guy thinks it's a lot less. And
Yep.
sometimes, if you watch very carefully, those spreads can be quite large, like in paper metal, you
Yep.
know.
Yep.
And if you guys are listening and you're not familiar with what I'm referring to about paper metal, we're just talking about trading on the stock exchanges. This is, and that's a whole world of its own. I'm just talking about stocks when I'm saying paper, and even then there's distinguishments in the stocks. Like, you can't call every stock a paper stock. So it's real weird the way they do that, but that was outside of the point. Point is that somebody's asking a lot and somebody's only willing to give a little. And somewhere in there is a middle ground that they call the spot figure. And that spot is never, I mean, I shouldn't say never, but it's rarely met. It's rarely agreed upon. Usually it's somebody coming down. It's another bid entering that's bought. Because somebody froze at this much and somebody said, well, I'll give it to him for that much.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
I'll go ahead and release it at that. There's an order. That'll cover my order. I'll take that. And then they make their little exchange and off they go. But
yeah, and that's another. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, please go ahead. I think I captured the point I wanted to.
No, yeah, and that's just another thing, is there should be two happy people in a deal. And I think it was Rick Rule I heard bring this up, kind of talking about something else, but I really like what he said, just the basics of, when a deal happens, when you make a deal or a sell goes through, basically, you should end up with two happy parties, not one. And you need to know that going into what you're buying, and sure, that's where the trust factor comes in, but no one is forcing anyone to buy anything, is kind of the thing that I want to point out. Don't buy something and then come back, the next day mad that you purchased that thing and say, oh, I found it somewhere else cheaper. Well, great. Buy it there next time. I mean,
Yeah, if you don't want it, don't. It's like blue book values. You're selling a car. The guy's like, well, I'd only blue books for that. And I'm like, well, go buy it from Blue Book.
Exactly. And that's it, right? Like, if you do your research ahead of time and you know what you're doing, you should be happy with the purchase you made. And I do all the time. I know that by going to AppMex, I'm paying more per ounce, but maybe they have a certain product that I want. And I realize I'm giving an extra $1.50 away. But I know that at the end of the day, that $1.50 is going to be meaningless, as opposed to me having this, for the long term. And so I'm happy to pay that little bit extra. Sure, if I can find it somewhere else for less, yeah, I'm gonna buy it. But then I'm not gonna call up AppMex and be like, you idiots, I found this elsewhere cheaper. It's like, and here's the thing is, sometimes when I think this is the other part of the mindset with this, where it's different with silver and gold, and sometimes when people see somebody
Patrol. Sorry. I just had to.
Sometimes when people take something to the market, it's because they need to, or they're in a pinch, or they're in a bad situation, and they need that money. And so maybe they're selling something a little undervalued, or here's where that haggle price is coming into play, because this guy is desperate, and you're like, well, I don't really want it. He's like, yeah, but if you give me anything for it, well, okay. See, that's a whole different, that's a different thing. Like, whereas when you're talking precious metals, I'm happy not to. In fact, this very 1 ounce John Quincy Adams bar here was something that I had for sale a week or two ago, and then I learned some information about it, that this guy was an ancient coin collector, and now I'm putting that in my deep stack. I'm not, so I'm just as happy, if not happier, holding on to these things. So I'm not in a position where I have to sell, and I think people need to, understand that it can be a little bit different with precious metals, where you don't have to haggle down to someone because you don't really want to sell it in the first place. Why would you? You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be worth the value for you too, and that value is not going to go away overnight. So that that kind of takes away from. Just go,
Well,
if you're unhappy, go find somewhere where you can find it cheaper, and I'm fine with that. Like, good for you. Tell me where, I'll probably go get another one myself. Where'd you find it? It's just,
and I think we see that every day in our real life purchasing of tangibles, right? Like when you go online, you pay your premiums and your taxes and your shippings and handlings, and then when you go to sell them, you got some jerk hanging over a counter waving 15% at you. You see what I mean?
yeah,
And somewhere in that ground lies business, and then somewhere further within that lies good business.
right. Yep.
And because, I mean, let's face it, every day, like the best deal you're going to get in my area, best deal is 10%. I'd love to come in swinging at 5%. Like, I'll buy your gold at 5%. I'd love to come in swinging at 5%, right? Like, nobody would be able to compete with me because I'd be competing with their greed. You see what I'm saying? And
Yep.
like, if I could power that swing in my area, like, I'd dominate, because I guarantee you these guys wouldn't drop it any further, because it's just, for them, that's how it works. And that's why you have two polar opposites to your bid and your ask.
Yes. Indeed. It's that's the type of
That's
market.
that's why we drive on spot, I guess.
Yeah,
That's why we balance on spot.
and
We
so
say
many
this
people.
we consider fair, middle ground.
Right. That's kind of the middle ground where everyone else is dealing with out there. But it's fun. I mean, the point that you're bringing up is valid, because a lot of people, when you say, bid and ask, they're like, what are you talking about? They don't even know that's a thing. So, there's a knowledge thing going on here with the sale of precious metals that I think a lot of people don't see when you first come in. I remember when I first thought about precious metals, I was at a gun show, and you walk along through the rows, and you got, magazines and bullets and guns and all of that, and then I come across a table, and there's a case full of precious metals behind a kind of a glass box. And I remember thinking, okay, well, if this guy is trying, here at this sale, and he's trying to sell me on these metals, he must not appreciate them. He must not want them. Why would I want something that he doesn't want himself? See, why would I buy this thing that he's trying to sell me if he doesn't want it? But it's such an ununderstanding. It's, you're new into it. You don't understand. But I remember having those thoughts, like, well, why would this guy sell me something if he thinks it's a good thing? It didn't make sense to me. But it's like anything else, I guess. Once you like with gas, this owner of a gas station probably fills his tank up there too, but he's willing to sell the gas at a little bit of a premium, right, to everybody. So, for me, where I'm a stacker and I'm a small guy and I'm happy to hold on to it, and because I know the overall value, I know which direction we're going, you know. So yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about some of those things because I think it's just like that first thoughts I had about like, well, why would you sell? Why would I want that if you're trying to sell it? And it's like, well, because he has a huge stack of his own at home that he stacks every day. It's just that he's got this little bit extra that he's willing to move, and then he'll probably reinvest in whether it's a specific coin or more metal but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to hear real quick. May I respond to Patrol here real quick?
Yep.
He asks, my dealer is charging $1 premium per ounce on 100-ounce bars. Good deal or not? I would say I don't know. I don't know if that's a good deal or not on a 100-ounce bar. I'd say if it was a single ounce, then yeah, be a great deal. Should you be getting more for a better deal at 100 ounces? Maybe.
Right, that's a good answer. Maybe, but I do know that right now, funnily enough, the retail is really not moving. There's not a lot of liquidity there right now. But on the backside, the bigger bars, the 1,000-ounce, and now working down into the 100-ounce is starting. There's a bigger premium on some of those products than like 1 ounce. So it's a rare time in the market.
Yeah, I think there's something happening in the market though that I really want to capture right here is there's no traditional stability in the market like there used to be, in the sense that and you were kind of making mention of this earlier, B, was there's the times have changed, right? Now when you go online, everybody's connected. There's a million opportunities for capitalism happening, right? And so like where these big bullions in a lot of cases used to really flourish because, well, who are they competing with? Like 2, 3 other guys out there, when it's real. And then at back in the day also, it was nothing but your local coin shop or like an online catalog, and those were like really kind of your options. Maybe you had a financial guy you went to who structured it for you, but there was really no competition. Prices were mostly pretty stable, because they were based on like the cataloging, and the stock pricing. But nowadays, with this huge surge of demand coming in and all these people filling that niche of capitalizing on these moments, has created not only an instability of the price, but an instability of the culture. Meaning, like, there isn't a clean answer for the 100-ounce premium anymore. Like, fractionals all of a sudden are becoming more attainable and more valued and more accessible. And like these big bars are all of a sudden becoming collectors, where they were just like investment grade. And I don't know, the whole thing's all mixed up. And I don't know if I'm the only one seeing it, but I'll be willing to step out and say, I feel like I'm seeing it. Like, the only good one is like, do you feel good about that deal? Like,
Yeah.
kind of like how I mentioned to that 100-ounce. If you were talking 1 ounce at a time and you were saying $1 over spot, I'm going, yeah, fine, sign me up. Right.
Right.
But when you're, $100 premium, I guess that doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it.
Yeah. Well, and that's
and
kind
should
of
you? Oh, one more. Should you? That comes right into the haggling, which is also bargaining too. When you bargain your profit right out, right? Dude, like by the time you go through one of these larger guys and you pay their taxes, their premiums, their shippings, la da 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 da, did you really come up? Did you really save yourself that 25 cents, 50-cent premium?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Did you really save it? Do the math. Did you save it? I watch guys drive freaking 5 miles to save a penny on their gas,
Yeah.
and they're only going to save 5 cents on the purchase.
Yeah, I want to talk about that penny saved here in a second, but I want to bring up a couple comments here and talk about them. So yeah, there was the question that Patrol said, about the 100-ounce bar and dollar premium. And it's probably a pretty good deal. It could be better. Always look around. But and then Dub C mentioned, welcome in Dub C, and also Acadian Carpenter. Good to see you. With Dub C said you can't cost average into a 100-ounce bar, which I think, I understand what he means. I mean, you might could if you're a billionaire, maybe that is dollar cost averaging 100-ounce bars or something, but yeah, I know you can't slowly work your way in cost, that you have to put that money down at once, and therefore that spot price is going to make a bigger difference, I think, is what Dub C was pointing out there. But in the Acadian Carpenter, that's a great point. He says,
Yeah,
I invest
that was a good one.
every penny that's not a direct bill, and sell silver if I need money. And I'd say, yeah, that's what I try to
if
do as
you need
well.
currency, if you need tokens, if you need chips,
Yes,
but not if you need money.
right. That's the only thing.
Because
Like,
you're selling out your money for something else, dude.
right. We in the precious metals community try to point that out always, is that, our terminology, and this has happened with many words in our language today, but I know, like, I would refer to the paper dollar that we have today as money, but if you look at the terminology for what makes a good money, one of the things in the 5 tenets is preserving your purchasing power. And that's where the fiat paper dollar doesn't add up to being good money, because it's always being inflated away. You're losing your purchasing power. Whereas with what we like to refer to as real money, silver or gold, is going to at least preserve that purchasing power for you.
Store of value.
We call it real money, even though maybe it's not working as well in buying groceries today. So there's some confusion there, but I totally agree with your statement overall, what you meant. Just like to point out that point about wealth preservation and money.
Oh, has Maine adopted precious metals?
Cool. Yeah, cool.
Very good to hear. Here, let's give them a round of applause.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I just was talking with JP Cortez about, he works with states trying to legalize it here in the States too, and we're doing fairly well. More have adopted it than I thought we would, so that's promising to see. Being Becky, welcome in. Good to have you. Thanks for being here. 3D Woodworks, welcome in.
Yes. So on that note, what's that have to do with soup?
Say again. Oh, with soup. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. And so then, let's talk about that penny saved. So I have, when talking about the penny saved, I have a story I like to give, where I was, kind of building a job site out, working for this guy, and we went, I needed him to go buy some material, and we go to this shop to buy the material, and we get it all, and we get it up to the counter and get our list out, and we're working through it, and we get to the total, and the guy's like, okay, your total is this. And my boss at the time, who was a very wealthy guy, but he, anyway, he goes into this haggling process with this store owner about, can we bring this price down at all? And of course the guy's like, no, the price is the price. But get your manager, So the manager, it ended up being this long, seemed like 2 hours, just dreadful time of arguing about just these small pennies. Well, during that time, if we would have just paid for it immediately, and he took me back to the job site with the materials, we could have had that place built out. Thousands of dollars worth of value of building time was maybe not thousands, but a lot, high value, way more than the few pennies saved after hours of arguments over just, these pennies. And it's just like, I don't know, there's a big disconnect for my mindset anyway on that type of thing. But that's just, for me, that penny that he strove so hard to save, he totally lost out on the other side of that. And that's at least in that situation, because his savings was not that great.
Yeah, it's the I think we get so cultured into trying to like find the best bargains and clipping the coupons sometimes, that we get so into the motion of doing it, and they trap you all the time on it. They'll bring the price up for like a week, and then they'll market sell for the next week and bring it right back down to the price they wanted you to buy it up for in the first place.
Yeah.
And we walk right into these traps all the time, thinking we're saving a bunch of pennies and dimes. And, like I said, with the fuel thing, they get you to drive across town to save a penny, and at the end of the day, you're arguing over a dang nickel. And like you said, you're lost of time, you're burning up your fuel, you're burning up your energy, you're burning up your car, you're burning up your mind.
Like the stress too, like, you're never going to want to do business here. I don't ever want to go back to that. So it's just like the argument over just such a small amount was just, I don't know, it was just ridiculous for me.
If I was to restart, like as a younger guy with the metals, like knowing what I know now, if I was to go ahead and kickstart it off, I'd just start dumping literally every penny I could put my hands on for at least a year right into precious metals. And then I'd do it the next year too. And you keep that going as long as you can. And then when you start seeing a good, significant price escalation, wait till it hits 25% more value and then start selling your metals. I mean, you could reap the profits, reinvest your initial investment. I mean, you could almost live on it if you waited 5 years, If you did it for 5 years, you could almost live on it on your own profit afterwards. And you could live both lifestyles at once. You could keep all the metal you wanted to keep, because you're sitting on every price. Every round you purchase goes in the safe for 5 years, and in 5 years you can sell it if you want.
Right.
Would you even need to? Oh, what did I say to you the other day, bro, about the credit thing? Like if I had perfect credit, I would I'd buy a butt ton. Oh yeah, that's what if I had perfect credit right now, like big dog credit, I could walk into a bank and ask what I wanted for. I'd buy as much gold and silver and precious metals as I could get my hands on with that loan. And then I'd pay back the loan. I'd walk to my local pawn shop if I had to and sell that metal every month just to make my bill. And by the time I'm done with my bill, I'd be so ridiculously over profit. I wouldn't even stop living in debt. Like if you're going to take debt and be a debt guy, might as well be smart about your debt and buy tangibles. So if you're going to buy tangibles anyways, might as well just buy tangibles. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you had debt swinging power and you were wanting to take some debt, well, man, take some good debt, buy the metals and pay off your debt with your metals.
Indeed.
It's going to go up a lot faster than your debt's going to drive you down.
You wouldn't want to give that advice to people, but yes, I would agree with that.
Not financial advice, but this is a hypothetical. Like if it was me, if I was that guy,
right? So
that's what I would do. I mean,
I'm going to show. So
I don't take that either.
We're at a price chart here, and we're going to go back. So, if you hear people on TV, a lot of people say, well, silver hasn't even moved. Silver's been stuck forever. Silver doesn't do anything. So And gold is just doing great. Okay, so we're going to go back here, and I'm going to start on the chart. We're going to go with the 3-year.
Here, I gotta get out of chat to see this.
So on gold, I go back 3 years, and in 3 years we're up 54%. And then if we go over to silver, and we go 3 years on silver, and we're up 33%. So gold 50, silver 30. Now let's go back 5 years. So we'll go back over here to gold price. We'll go 5 years, 103% in 5 years. So gold's at 103% in 5 years. Now we're going to go over to silver. And anybody got any guesses on this one? Because this is where I was doing a lot of my stacking. Silver is up in 5 years, 172%.
Wow. Hey, go over to Osmium Institute and let's or Osmium Price. Osmium Price. It's a PREISS.
Yep. I'll get there in 1 second. Remind me if I don't go over there. So then but I do want to show you. So that's where silver was looking the best. But that's when I was, heavy into it. But I'm more like at 7 years. I've been trying to cost average in, like Doug was saying. But when you're riding those lower waves and you're getting in, then when you go up 172%, and people still to this day after that 172% move say, oh, silver hasn't done anything. And it's like, wow, well, man, it's wait till it does move. Look out, right? So okay, so then, but yeah, if we go back to
silver,
10 years,
gold, and platinum. Platinum will have its day. I don't think platinum's had its day yet. And I think that's because technology's just catching up to platinum, really. Our ability to handle it better, do bigger projects with platinum, use it in more places. Platinum will have its day.
Yeah. So if we go back to 10 years, it's like gold is winning again a little bit. I can't remember. It's not much, but but anyway, so it kind of steps back and forth, between gold and silver, but it's not that silver is not doing anything is kind of what I wanted to point out. In 10 years, it's at 118%, and gold is at higher than that. I think I can't remember. 160. So 40% more in 10 years. But if you keep going back, then silver goes again because it, it's once $4 or something. But anyway, okay.
Yeah, so but you invert that chart. Now that's the dollar going down every damn time.
Yeah, and that's what I try to point out too. Is it's not that gold and silver are going up. The more important thing to understand is that your dollar is losing its purchasing power that much. By that much,
yes.
It's probably going to start at an exponential rate, depending on. Well, that's my guess anyway. Okay, so we're gonna go check out Osmium.
Yeah, I just wanted to see how it was stacking on that same time scale.
Yeah, it's been going good, hasn't it?
I got to be fair to my intellect at this moment. OTG, you're such a troll. I love it, dude. Like, you troll everywhere you're in, and I love it, man. I don't know why. I just relate to you or something, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you're like that inner part of me that just wants to troll too, and you troll where you troll. But, I'm a big First Amendment supporter. Like, I really think we hold our First Amendment too tight. I think we need to step it up a notch, because remember, the First Amendment's it's not about the speech we like, it's about the speech we dislike, and there's going to come a time when people are going to dislike our speech, wait till they want to outlaw gold again. You know what I mean? Like, nope, we're coming back for it again, like they're going to mean mug everybody all over the internet and all over the news, and they're going to say these guys are extremists, and it's just natural, it's just how people work.
Okay, so is there a percentage chart here? I'm not sure, but we're showing we started off at about, I don't know if you can see, we're at the osmium chart there, minor. We started off at about 565 and probably like 2017. And now we're up to 1711. Woo! We're running again.
Yeehaw! Is this almost a new high again?
Yeah, I think it's looking like it's close anyway. Let me go in. I'll zoom in here. Yeah. So
I want people to see osmium charts too. Like, I think people tend to forget about the lesser known, noble metals that are just as valuable and just as important, and I mean, and just as cool. And osmium
even
being
more.
one of them.
It's more valuable per gram. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, your price density on this is incredible.
Right.
This is per gram, guys, not ounce. This is gram.
Yeah,
just as a reminder.
$1,700 a gram. So I'm looking for a percentage. Are you good at math? What's the percentage on that?
Here, if you'll stand by, let's hope I don't lose you. If anything, I'll try to jump back in. So stand by. I'll just give you a percentage. Let's move right here.
All right, let's see if I can get this. This Canadian dream sound.
All right, can you hear me? It's up 90.34%.
Woo! And she's just getting started.
Just getting started. Yeah, and I mean that's like, look, we're talking about like, this is 1,500 times more rare than gold, right? And it exists within platinum. So like, if a platinum doesn't have a high enough density, it's kind of like the same way crypto gets burned, is they just keep it in the platinum because it's not economically viable to pull out that lesser density. So they only pull out one out of 10 parts of osmium that's in platinum anyways. We're only
right.
9/10 of the osmium that we extract from platinum remains in the platinum. Just for the record, because it's about like atom grabbing at that point. You know what I mean? It's pretty. You can only get so much of it out at a time.
Crazy. Only like 1%.
Yeah. Well, it's 10% of the extractable we're able to extract.
Wow.
Of extractable, of the available we're able to extract. Excuse me. So, 1 out of 10 parts. So 9 out of 10 parts remain in the platinum.
Yeah.
And not and still furthermore, that's not like all the platinum gets scooped for osmium either. Again, that's back to the whole percentage thing of like, if there's not enough there to be able to scrape a one part, then we're not going to try to scrape that one part.
Yeah.
It's like, it's 10 tons of platinum ore produced roughly 30 grams if it's worth extracting.
Yeah, so that's crazy. Such a small amount. So precious.
There was a whole point I was making here, is that like, when you time scale that, we're watching an element rise to an occasion that we can now invest in it. But because there's so little of it, we're going to watch it also fade out of a natural exchange, out of like a purchasable commodity, in the sense that like you'll have to go source it completely privately from here out, because it's not going to be an in-store product anymore, From Osmium Institute, that is.
Right.
From
No,
Osmium
yes, for sure. Probably for sure the first market out.
Yeah.
Unless I guess we're getting close to where something could kick off in these markets too, in my opinion. I mean, we're hearing about
Well,
some big moves.
well, again, like back to just like simple articles of trade. Like you need a partnership in trade. Like two people got to be able to come together just to start. Like you're not trading with your arch enemy now, are you? You know, you're trading with people that you feel like you can trust and do business with, and et cetera, et cetera. Now you put that on the micro or the macro, and world scale or your neighborhood, trade times can be, I could see trade times being limited, having limited partnerships, limited availability of trade, which means limited resource for the consumer. So naturally.
Yeah, in fact, I was telling somebody in my family that a little bit earlier. It was, the thing I was, worried about, like me coming out here and talking about it, just trying to kind of raise awareness about it. But it seems to be that, even at this point, like for me, I would have thought people would have for sure by now come to understand the whole fiat problem. But I think that, looking at it, I mean, we're getting to that point where gold is at $3,000 an ounce, and at what point do people come in and realize that, that like $4,000 an ounce, they start to wake up, you're going to be like, man, that's a lot of money to put into an ounce. And so, and then like with these big moves, company, like I could see silver getting pulled off the market and becoming hard to get, kind of like Mike Maloney says, unobtainium. Unaffordable and unobtainium goes from being unaffordable to having trouble getting it. And
well, I asked you a while back, what do you think about the possibility of the rise of the microfractional, when grams are unattainable?
right. No, yeah. Then the gold backs are looking like a good investment today, right? Yeah.
Well, and again, when gold starts hitting 4 or 5,000, like, look, right now, a gram's pegging at 115 on the lower end, like off the shelf. And then if you pay with your card, it's going to be, 120. And then you pay the tax, and then it's going to be 128, 130, and then you pay the shipping, and now you're looking at 145 to get your single gram of gold to your house. And that's like real market value. That's your real value, not
Yep.
not the price on the shelf. It's by the time it hits your hands.
Yep.
What did it cost you to hit your hands?
Yep.
That's the real value, right?
Yep.
And so what's going to happen when gold's like 4 grand, 5 grand? You're going to watch what we're buying 1/10 at right now is going to be your gram before we know it. And if I said that correctly, but so like that gold back all of a sudden, like I know 100th, of an ounce seems kind of ridiculous, but is it now? When that's your new Grammy, that's your new grammar that's you're giving away in chat. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's wild. I
It
don't
is.
know. I've been stacking the gold backs. Just open air. Let's put some clarity in the air. I'm stacking the gold backs right now. I accept the gold backs. I'm stacking the gold backs. I sell the gold backs, right? And I believe in them, not because of the premiums that I'm paying now, because I know that when 1/10 and quarter ounces and ounces and stuff like this start disappearing off the shelf, dude, there might be a lot of ounces. As a matter of fact, let me try saying that again. There might be plenty of 1 ounces on the shelf pretty soon, but no quarter ounces, no 1/10s, and no 1 grams, no half grams, because everybody's buying up the smallest bits they can, because most people can't afford to buy an ounce now, much less when it's 5 or 6 grand.
Are you talking gold?
Gold.
Yeah.
Speaking gold, yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, and with the gold backs, I think it's, you got to kind of that's a whole nother way of looking at things, right? Like it's, you got your stacking your gold coins and your gold bars. That's kind of one thing, but then you get into the gold
I'll
back.
answer you soon, OT.
That's a whole nother way of looking at things. It's not there. You're literally using it more as a currency, right? I mean, so yes, it's continually going up in value, but I mean, you'll be happy you have those when we're using it as a currency, right? Like, I mean, that'll be the ultimate if that becomes the
If
case,
we can get it to currency mode, that would be pretty primo,
right?
But the problem is if you look at it, like, our philosophy is still wrong, and this is how I'll demonstrate it, is the fact that we still leverage the gold back against the dollar. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And because, like, look, even if this is adopted as currency everywhere, we're still going to look at our gold back calculator and we're going to say, yeah, worth this much USD, and everything on the shelf is still going to be priced in USD. You see what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's not going to make a dang about the ever going to make a dang about the unless we get our mindset out of the dollar and we start using, you know, our denominations become our weights become our denominations. That's the real power of trading in metal. When you stop weighing it against the dollar anymore. When the dollar weighs against you, maybe, but not when you weigh against the dollar. Does that make
Right.
sense?
No,
When
yeah,
the
no,
store starts saying, I'll take this many gold backs, and people got to figure out how many dollars that is,
yeah,
and where to get a gold back. That's when you start swinging with power.
yeah. Have
But
you
until
seen
then, it's just another form of currency.
Have you seen the Lynette Zhang video where she shows them? I think it's a Venezuelan something. The paper money. She takes it into a store to buy groceries, and she's got this paper money folded up, and she unfolds the paper money and pours some little shavings of gold into the cashier's hand to buy the groceries. It was just to hold the gold, the paper.
I love that. I love that.
It was hilarious.
Hey, I got to answer OTG. He's blown me up.
Okay.
OTG, I used a jewelry cement. Okay. I used a jewelry cement, and it was a highly viscous jewelry cement, fast setting. And make sure to use, if you're going to mount it, make sure not to flood it onto your crystals, or you'll have to like wash it with like nitric acid or something. Okay. Or acetone or something. Doesn't matter. It won't affect the osmium. All right. Did that answer you? And Patrol's speaking about scandium, and I've been wanting to speak to him real quick, is that the scandium thing is real cool because when you start talking about like scandiums and telluriums and all your lanthanites, lanthanum included, of course, and you start talking about all those metals, dude, that's a whole nother world of investment and tangible. But that's a conversation for itself. And
Yeah.
and there was something else. OTG, did I answer you? Yeah. Okay. Yes, you can. OTG. Yes, you can. You can purchase them from me. I am so sorry, Broby.
Yeah, no, oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Oh,
no, I got one. So his new rounds are awesome. For those of you who haven't checked out Space Miner's channel, he just put out. Well, you can see it in his picture there on screen, an osmium Space Miner round, and he has set a piece of osmium, crystallized osmium, into a 4-9 silver, right? Space Miner.
yeah, it's a 4-9.
4-9's fine. Proof like Space Miner round, which I bought one for myself And yeah, it looks like OTG's after him. I think he's even got some other buyers on the line. Those things are selling like hotcakes, and for good reason. Those are awesome.
Well, thanks for the shout out, B.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
Yeah, go pick up
great.
one of those rounds before they sell out, because so these are basically your first line that are like official, right?
Yeah, so the other ones I'm considering of prototypes, I think it was enough to like claim the niche, the niche. I think it was enough to claim the niche, but I had to like produce them professionally to feel comfortable in saying to everybody, like, yeah, this is definitely 1 ounce, like a full 1 ounce Troy, fine, untampered with. Like, I didn't put my grubby little paws all over it. I didn't have to put any machines to it. I just wanted one good professional strike, so I had them strike a cavity on the rounds to accept the osmium. That way there wasn't any drilling or marking or scratching marks on any of them. And
Yeah.
hopefully it improved the finish,
Yeah, because your first set had some that you were just kind of trying them out. I know a lot of people wanted to buy those. I almost bought one of those, but I held off for this official round here, and I think I got pretty early on, so I'm kind of excited about that. But
yeah, you have the first piece that was for sale. Like the very first production, because the very first one technically, and again, that's breach, I call it my prototype, is the first one I had to literally test set. Like, okay, like here we go, let's mount the osmium and get it done, kind of thing. The very first one is my keeper, and I call that my prototype because it's the experimental, which means it took the most handling and stuff. But after that, yours you yours was the very first one I made because you claimed it. And then then and then and then number 2 I'm gonna leave private, and if they ever want to call it out, they're more than welcome to. So, and then so you guys can tell me who gets number 2 or 3 or what, but technically yours is number 1. So, and I'll send you a cert for that, by the way.
Heck yeah.
So, OC. Look at who's here. It's OC showed up. And we got 3D.
3D
Dude
has been in the house for a minute, indeed.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I have to like pop in and out of chat, and I can't see the screen and chat at the same time. So
Sure. Pocket Change Inspector has a good sticker for that very thing, having to pop in and out and get a good eye on what's going on there. And then we got the Brook stack. Sorry, I'm just running through a stack of stickers that I need to get up that I never do.
So these I'm gonna say it because I think I can claim it, and I'll just put them up for the challenge. These are the first silver rounds in the world set with osmium. Not the first silver ever set with osmium. I want to be real clear. Like Ian over at ArcSco put some into dice as an example, and there's been silver jewelry, but I think I'm the first one to do a silver round, and so
that's commendable, bud. Good job. It's a very, very impressive job. I really like how yours. Can you hold? Oh, you don't have your camera on a piece. So if you get a good close up look at the round and the design, it really, really fits the design of the coin. And funnily enough, that the design was there before the osmium, right? And it just so happens that it happened to work greatly like that, or what?
yeah, the astronaut originally had like a little like camera headlamp like fixture in his helmet, and so originally I just drilled out that spot, and I was like, ooh, I like that spot. And then drilled it down to a 3. The first one ever was a 4 millimeter, and then I brought the size down to fit into the headlamp area better, down to a 3 mil, because I also wanted to make it like more price accessible, because those 4 mils get ridiculous expensive. And so like the 3 mils make it affordable too. And it just fits the helmet better. And so,
Cool.
yeah, man, it was a natural, it just meant to be, it feels like. Where else would I have put it? That's what I would ask. I looked for a million spots there to put it, and that's the one that just seemed proper. Like, like his little light is on,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, it looks like the round was designed off the osmium, but it's the other way around. But it all looks like it definitely works together. Okay, let me see here. Get your
Yeah, I get that 3D. 3D, I've never done anything to like make a business or a profit out of it per se. I just kind of wanted to make it available and contribute. I'm like one of those guys that just likes to like climb on the mountain and put the flag up and be like, woo, I climbed a mountain, and it's kind of like dumb and stupid. Like I'm a bit of a caveman about it, but I also nailed the tritium rounds. I got the world's first tritium round, and I challenge anybody to beat that one either. Like show me the tritium round you made. So like, and so now I'm shooting at osmium plated, and I'm hoping I can get osmium plated under the belt, and we'll put those on the world map too. Like, because I'm just tired of hearing people talk about how it's not like relevant, and well, it's just like you guys don't know about it. A lot of people just don't know about it, and like to a lot of people, like, dude, there's like fanboy clubs about osmium. Osmium's cool. It's got like there's a lot to osmium. There's a whole fan world in osmium. So, but hey,
welcome to
man,
the club.
there's lots of stuff to do. I just wanted to contribute, man. I was tired of I was like, man, what else could you do? That the world hasn't already done. It's platinum plated and gold plated and diamonds and rubies and silver, and
Yeah.
and you got, glow in the dark stuff. And it's just like, what else could you do? you know and crystal osmium just seemed fitting. And then so here's one for y'all if you want it, if you can beat me to it. There's a type of paint, and it's called aluminol, and it's an electrical paint. Okay, what it does is it's technically the smallest like light. It's considered the smallest electrical light bulb. I don't know if you want to call it a bulb, but it's the paint lights up when you put a charge on it, right? So the idea was to put it on a silver bar. It would work best in a hand cast because you could deface the backside and then like reset it if you wanted. But all you would need is a very small battery or a solar cell, mind you, and a solar cell and battery, and it could charge through the day, retain the battery for the night, and at night, all you'd have to do is like ground it, and boom, you could have the world's first like light bulb silver, like lighting luminescent silver
Huh.
piece. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
Because that's how they do it on like I don't know, the paint's used for like cars as an example. They'll
Yeah.
and they can turn the paint on, and it's kind of like you turn on a neon. So
Huh. I don't know, Space Miner. Only your brain.
I'm just saying, if in the world, because I was trying to figure out how do you enhance colored coins? How do you take colored coins up a notch?
Yeah.
Like everybody's done all the colors, they've done most of the schemes, they have all the different types of paints, they've refined the process. Like, and I'm not a guy that believes in competing. I don't really like to compete. Let competitors compete. You know, I'll just go find my own path. Right? That's kind of my attitude. Just do something they're not, and who could compete with you? They can't compete until they come to your game, and then you're already out, and who's left to compete with? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You already got what you wanted. You did it, right? And so, if somebody lit it up, they could step up the world of colored silver. You know,
Right.
I mean, or it could just be the base that powers it. You don't need to put batteries and stuff in your paint. You just make sure that the electrodes match at the end, the positive and negative, kind of like an LED. Just make sure those match in like a little base that you put it in. Boom, dude. That light would literally be a nightlight. Your silver round would be literal nightlight, or your silver bar. I think it would look best on a big old bar, just for the record. Paint like a dragon or a peacock into it or something.
Right. That'd be
I
interesting.
don't know how I got down that.
We're trailing off here. Okay, let's see. You might call your initial piece of proof or artist proof, Space Miner, says Dub C.
Artist proof. Thank you.
And .3D says, I'm going to Drexel Mine. Space Miner is on to something hot. Space Miner's on to something hot, yeah. Oh, cool. Looks like 3D's got something he's working on over there, too. Cool.
What is Drexel?
And that's what I was wondering. And 3D also asks, how hot did you need to get the tritium? I'm thinking he's joking.
Tritium. Yeah, you want to actually just keep that cool while you set it, and don't eat the tritium. That's rule number 1. Don't eat the tritium.
I gotta zoom in on this. Yeah, you don't want to eat the tritium.
Yeah. What do you think Homer's holding in his hands? You know Homer on The Simpsons?
Right.
What do you think he's holding, bro?
There you go. Huh? I don't. It could be just that. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be a hot rod, right? Like a.
Well, it's hot in the term of radioactive hot. It's radioactive stuff, but I mean, your phone's radioactive. Just for the record.
Okay.
It's like there's a lot of stuff radioactive around us, man. You know, and that's what they call hot, but it's not actually hot. I mean, it produces a very small amount of energy whenever it whenever it kicks off electrons. Like, I mean, that takes energy, but that has more to do with like how susceptible they are to like how much an atom is attracted to electrons, like how willing to accept it, and you know how much energy is kicked off. Never mind. You got me rabbit trailing with that. No, it's just gas, and it lives in a glass tube. It's gas that lives in a glass tube. So as long as the glass tube stays safe, you're safe. So, and you're safe if it releases, as long as you don't need it.
Okay.
Because that's what Homer does. He eats it on accident. It was a joke. I'm terrible at jokes. That's why I stay off of YouTube. So anyway, what were we originally trying to talk about, though?
Oh, we were originally talking about selling silver and haggling over price, but I think we kind of covered those topics. Hey, SMC, welcome in, Stackerman the Rabbit Hole.
Yeah, dude, I don't haggle. I'll be straight up. I don't haggle. I give them what they're asking, or I don't buy from them, and it's really that simple for me. Like, again, back to that distributed economy.
Yes. And I don't think, like, especially with precious metals, like I've heard people talking about it, how they just won't, they need to haggle. And in silver, again, it kind of goes back to that. Well, does the person need to sell? Like, this is different than making pizzas, where the pizza is going to expire, and you kind of have to, if you're going to sell those pizzas tonight, you got to get them in line with the price of other pizzas and sales. And so that's a little bit different than with collectibles, or silver and gold, or silver and gold collectibles. And and the idea that, haggling over price is a good thing, I don't necessarily think so. As far as for silver and gold, like some people say, well, you should start with a higher price so that you can be haggled down. Well, I mean, that mindset doesn't even, like, as if that's the better way to approach it, because that guy is looking for, there's going to be people looking to haggle, and if you didn't build that in, then you're not going to be, well, fine. But I mean, to me, that's doing the opposite. To me, that's making selling silver and gold more of a problem, when you're like, oh, well, I gotta make sure to tack an extra $3 on this my sale price, so that in case somebody wants to haggle with me. So what happens to the person that doesn't want to haggle, and they just buy it at that original price? Well, now you're ripping them off in your mind, like that. That's not good. So it's like, it kind of, there could
Yeah,
be
and
that
they
reverse
feel like it's a
psychology.
gotcha. Yeah, they feel like they gotcha, but at the end of the day, by the time they were done haggling, the price went up to their haggling difference.
Yeah.
It washed away their haggling difference, and now even if they did haggle you down, it'd be back to your original price.
Yeah, and
You
it's
know,
just kind
so
of there, and there's a mindset to it too that's a little bit like I hear a lot of people, they don't want to pay anything, like they want the best price for sure to themselves, but then they might brag about how much they sold something to somebody else for. And it's like, if we're looking for honesty and upfront, the haggling thing shouldn't even be there. Like, for me, I'm putting my price at what for me is a good low price. And so that's I'm not going to do, I've already set my low point, and it's the best deal I can get you. And it is a good deal in my opinion. So, but if you find it from someone else who is further up the ladder than you, buy it from them. That's what I want people to get their best deal. Only if they want to purchase a piece from me and they're happy with the price, purchase from me. Otherwise, don't purchase from me.
mhm.
So, yeah, I don't know. Kind of, it can work. It can work against you when you're thinking that way. And yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good thing, is a good practice of haggling, is, as a good practice. I don't think, at least in the, you know, at least it shouldn't have to be a thing, because again, for me, as just a small stacker, I don't need to sell. I'm stacking aside from selling, and so anything I get from selling, I just put back into more metals to re-up to do the same thing, so I don't know. It's not that, it's something that needs to be haggled down. If you can find it elsewhere better, great. If I would have to set it high, and then for the person that doesn't haggle, like you or me, we're just constantly getting a bad deal, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I think shop around, find your best deal, and be happy with what you bought. Don't be mad at the person for selling something, you know, at a higher price than you want to pay. Like, don't buy it if you think it's too high. Don't be mad at them for selling it at that price. That's the price that they would be happy to sell it for. If you think that's too high, then don't buy it from them. And everybody should stay happy, because and especially like with my like with an ancient coin with me, there's a good example. I'll judge what I'm going to charge for that piece by how good of a piece that I think that is, because with ancient coins, none of them are the same. you know, each whatever coin you have is unique in itself. It's not like a silver eagle where they all are identical, pressed the same. It's not like that with ancient coins. They're all a little off centered, or you know, one part got fully set, some part didn't, or you know, there are lots of different things with ancient. So if you find an ancient coin that, you know, to you it has everything that you're looking for, well, for one, I might not sell. I might just hold it for the enjoyment. But if I do decide to sell it and it's something I really, really like, I'm not going to sell it for, you know, just some cheap price that I'm going to be upset that someone bought it for me. See, because then I want that. Now I got to go find him to buy that coin. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So, you know, especially with collectibles and stuff like that, you know, if a person sets the price on a collectible, then you got to realize that might be their favorite piece of anything they own, and so they put a high premium on that piece, and you could definitely find it somewhere else for less, and if you can, go buy it there. And I don't think that the person, you know, would say otherwise to you either. They'd probably congratulate you for finding it somewhere else cheaper. You know, it's not, you got to always keep that in mind, at least for me. And with anything you buy, right? You just, like, don't buy it if you don't think it's a good deal.
I think if our culture can support that kind of attitude, you know, like, then that's really the primo attitude to have for exchanges at the end of the day, you know. But I think a lot of people, you know, back to that anger issue, and like I wanted to bring up like buyer's remorse as well, you know. Like, I don't think that's talked about enough.
Well,
You
that's
know,
kind of what we're touching on, but go ahead. What are you talking about?
yeah, well, I mean, exactly. We're touching on buyer's remorse, but we're not calling it out for what it is. It's like you going, "Oh crap, I made a mistake. I had a misjudgment." You know? And so oftentimes buyer's remorse, I'm not saying everybody that suffers this, because I've suffered it and didn't lash out, right? But some people that suffer it, you know, they're not taking accountability of their feelings, and so they look for that little chink in the armor. They look for that weak link to attack, you know, and say, well, it's because of you. And then they put on all this straw man on you. They build a
Right,
straw man against you and then argue against it. And when your intentions may have been noble and pure. You
right,
see what
right.
I mean? And so, like, a lot of this has to do, well, all of this has to do with people need to like learn how to take accountability for their actions, for their
Yeah,
money,
yeah,
for
that's
their
kind of
purchases,
right.
and like and really examine values. We've kind of like lost the sense of value with our, you know, hamburger and hot dog culture, you know,
Yeah,
of like you're saying, you know, like, well, that's not competitive enough. Well, sure, you know, this guy's got his product goes away in a day.
yeah,
Mine will be here tomorrow and it gains value.
yep,
So,
yep. It's a
like,
different.
we're not talking the same language anymore. It's
That's
not the
it.
same
That's
type
it.
of economy.
Yeah, that's why I think they're applying it just to all markets, kind of in that same way. And I have to. So the Stacker Man brings up a good point that I talked with. I think it was you earlier, but yeah, I appreciate that. He says that I'm not guilting anyone to buying anything in my auctions or in my spin and bin, and I was talking with someone about that earlier. Is in fact, in my early auctions and early days, I had a few people on that were, well, I still consider them, you know, good friends to me, and I really appreciated them coming on. But I kind of had to, like, come on after they you know, like, they were, oh, we, you know, I put a coin out for sale, and they'd kind of try to help bid it up, you know, like, oh, this is a good one, you got to get on it. And I'm like, you know, yes, buy it if you really, really want to, but I want to stress that, you know, don't buy anything that you're not happy with the price and don't want the piece. Always look around, because I'm not at all trying to you know, I would rather you not buy if you're somehow might be upset down the way, like, you know, because, like,
I don't want to feel guilty about selling you something.
Yeah, that's exactly. Like I would rather, like we were just talking, I'd rather just hold it. I'm holding it anyway. So only buy it if you really are happy with that one. You want that one piece, or you want to support me, or don't do it if you're not happy about the whole thing.
Yeah, agreed. I've spent premium on some of these hand pours out in the community.
Yes, and I do too. Like I appreciate, like, yeah, I give super chats to people for no reason, just to give them some pick me up, like.
Yeah, are you gonna go back on those guys? Like, hey, I gave you super chats. Like, I should be getting better value
Right?
content or something. I don't know. What do you say?
Exactly.
Like, oh my goodness. I don't know. It's kind of a weird topic for me.
Yeah.
Like, I have lots to say on it, but
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, just as far as our genre or our little lane of, I just think that, like we were talking, I think people apply the other markets, what they're used to in their life with, and like if someone, you think, oh, here's a sale, well, this guy must, really need to get out from his car, or kind of like having a garage sale, right? Like, oh, this guy's trying to get rid of his stuff, his junk, and so I'm not going to give him a high, what can I get this guy down to on this piece, and it's like it's not really working like that in our line of business, or in my mind at least. It shouldn't really, is kind of the thing, I guess. And that's kind of one of the things, is you get that out in the community, where you get some of that early on confusion. Like, why would you sell to me if you're believing in it? And then on the other hand is like, well, you got to bargain down on it, because if you don't bargain, what kind of, or if you're not selling, you're not doing good. So you got to, it's like all that stuff kind of goes out the window when we're talking
yeah, like
precious.
where's the humanity again? Like, you don't know. Was the human in this interaction considered as well? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, if you're not like, that's with a lot of sales. When if you have a garage sale, maybe you need money, or you have some reason why you need to sell your used car, and so you come kind of with some, giving the other person some leverage, maybe to negotiate with you. You're like, oh, well, you're asking 5,000 for this, but the guy has to have the cash by tomorrow morning, and you're like, I don't think, then you're gonna get into the bargaining area, right? Because again, both people in something should walk away happy. And the guy that's bargaining on the car, maybe he really doesn't want the car, right? And so he's being honest. He's like, I don't really want to buy a car right now. But the guy that needs the money by the next morning is like, look, guy, I know you might not need the car, but it's in really good condition. And I am in really bad need of it. If there's anywhere you would like this car, I bet I could adjust my price. But you see how, like, and you can still come away with both people being happy, where the guy gets a great deal on a car that he didn't even really want, but since it's such a good deal, he's happy with it. Whereas opposed to, yeah, the guy sold it at a price that, he wanted more, but where else is he going to get that cash up front? So, like, that's how bargaining can, and you can both walk away happy. And and you can do that, I guess, in precious, and I guess maybe even I occasionally do, but it's just not like, you know we got to cut a deal by the end of this auction, or we're both unhappy. It shouldn't be that way. So anyway, no, I'm
Well, if
rambling.
we can, no, I think you're just really making the point that I kind of want to make too, is that if we can just get this, like, really, I say this a lot: culture, 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 culture. Like, we got to build the culture, we got to maintain the culture, we got to, adhere to the standards of our culture that we want. Like, it's kind of funny because it's almost a tragic irony, but in, like, precious metals world, our little private interchanges of metal are meaningless to the big ball game going upstairs, and the point is that we're all subject to their terms at the end of the day. So there is kind of like a stable competitive force out there at some level. So if we can build, if we're going to keep this private exchange up, we need to be able to start saying no to bad business, yes to good business, and just the more good business we produce, and the more times people are willing to say bad business. Here, let me back up a notch. I just think that there's enough of us out there nowadays that are connected. Dude, we are a digital tap away from each other at any given moment and a shipping cost away. You know, like it is too easy to buy from good cultured people. Like it's not going to squeeze you out of anything. There's probably 1,000 good people out there right now selling that Cook Islands coin you want. You know, there's 1,000 of them out there. We just got to start getting better connected, better cultured to each other, and and more cultured into saying like, you know what, I don't like that business, and I'll wait for the good business. Can you guys point me to good business?
Right. Yeah.
And then and stop trying to, you know, cut each other's throats too. You know, like
Indeed.
just offer like anybody that's dealt with me in the background, I've always said, look, I'll point you in the right direction. If you don't like me, I'll find somebody that you do like, you know?
Yeah.
And because I'm not here to compete. I'm not.
Yeah.
I have a few things for sale and I have them at a price and that's it. I
Yep.
mean, if you
Exactly.
don't like it, like I oftentimes point people other directions.
Indeed. Indeed.
Like,
Hey,
man, I don't think I'm the best one for you. Let me get you hooked up, you know?
yep. Yep. Yeah. Joseph Lopez. I really appreciate that comment. Thank you. Uh, yeah. OTG is cracking me up over here. He says, "Sell me a used car, Space Miner."
What is he on about?
Yeah, I think he's also giving you some prices for what he wants around a Space Miner round. I think he's throwing out some bids.
Dude, the first ones are $200 flat rate. That was the only way I can make peace with my wife and my YouTube community
That's a
is
great. That's
200.
a low price for that. That's the rounds itself, and then the osmium. That's in mount. That's a great deal, man.
I mean, and everything's shipped priority and I'm Space Miner. There's always something in there. So, I don't know. It's the only way I could justify doing the whole project. Like, turns out, minting your own rounds and setting them with osmium is kind of a costly venture. And so it was really hard to even make them happen.
But
So,
it's nice because it's such. For one thing, it's a killer design and looks good. I can't believe that you didn't design them like at the same time. And again, that's just kind of funny to me. But it's a great design. But it's also a great way to stack the osmium. Like, how are you when you buy that little piece? Where do you put it? How do you hold it? I mean, that's kind of a thing with osmium. Where with that, it's cool because you're getting just like a sweet display along in a valuable commodity that looks good as well. It's like
it's a dual investment too.
yeah, and
And
it's
it's not the same as like gold plating or something. Like, how are you ever going to recover that gold plate, or
right.
value it
Yeah,
for
no, I
that
don't
matter?
like. I'm not big on gold plate occasionally, but I'm not big on the gold plated stuff or plating.
Yeah, there's no other there's very few dual investment coins out there, you know, very few.
Right.
So, yeah, man, it's cool. It's fun. And it's just another tangible. It's a rare, noble metal. And that's the value. I say it all the time. It doesn't matter what metal you're stacking as long as you got like a plan for it.
Yeah, and I think even more than that nowadays is, man, even if you don't like, man, I wish people would understand inflation. It just kind of irks me that, like, do you know how much it seeps all of our lives uh, everywhere around the world now? I mean, and the more the inflation creeps into the society, the more that's why we get in so much corruption and lies and stupid stuff and grossness, and it just starts to permeate everything, and people don't even realize. And I talked years ago, I don't know, like back when before all this was kicking off, or when it started all kick off early on, I was saying, be careful in your own relation, like within people's families. I was worried that, if people don't know where the pain is coming from, they're going to start lashing out at whoever's closest to them. And that's often family members. And here you are, you start fighting with wife, you're both working now instead of working one job and you're working two jobs. You got no extra time. You're still not making your bills, but things are going to crack out. You're going to lash out at some point, right?
Well, it's some like, I don't remember the exact figure, but it's like half or more, like somewhere between like half and like 60% of divorces are based on financial reasons.
Oh, see.
I don't remember the exact figure,
And I bet you could just change that to like you could take a big percentage of that and just say inflation instead of over money, over inflation, because they don't know where it's coming. They don't understand where this pressure is, and they think that the other person is not making enough money. Like, well, you need to bring in more. And it's like, well, you're getting more stolen. The more you make, the more you're getting. It's like a vicious thing.
Yeah, and it really is hard to get out of. And that's why I was saying earlier, about like the 5-year thing. Like, because it would take you about 5 years to start making an effect out of it. Like, look, I've always considered it supplemental. You know what I mean? Precious metals, as direly as important as they are, like right now in my life, in this stage of my life, they have to be supplemental income. Meaning when there's a really good price capture, I capture the price. You know, I sell off what I can, I wait for the dip, I reinvest and I try again. But you can't really get good performance out of it without the time factor. And the time's the hard one to beat, because you got to live out bills in the meantime. You got everyday life going on.
Yep.
So unless your whole entire job existence being is dedicated to flipping large amounts of precious metals, you really have to consider it more from the stacker collector side of things.
For sure.
That's my opinion,
No, yeah.
but within that are still yet good investments. And every little investment increase that you can capture is good for you. So if you can get that cycle turning over where now you're gathering the profits and you're reaping the benefits of it, eventually it increases. If
Yep.
you had all your bills prepaid for 1 year, if you had all your bills prepaid for 1 year, take the hit and then just spend that whole year buying metals, and then the next year go back to your regular life, sit on it for a year, and then take another look at your investment, you might start repeating that cycle for a while.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Eventually you could escape based on buying and selling your gold. I mean, you put enough in there at once, hypothetically, this is not financial advice. You put enough in there at once, at one good time, and then live your life meagerly for the next few years. Come back to your little stash. You could almost peck a yearly profit and supplement your lifestyle if you had all your bills under control. I mean,
Yeah.
you could almost supplant it if you had a large enough investment.
Yep.
That is if you're not like wanting to live like, I don't know, some baller on a yacht,
Right.
if you don't mind just, a small yard where you grow your garden and feed your goats, then this might be quite an achievable lifestyle. Maybe instead of AMC and GameStop, you should be considering gold and silver as an example.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to blame all the rabbit trails in tonight's program on me.
No, it's good. It's all
Spaceman spacing off, right?
all good conversation. But
So-
maybe we should wrap this one up. I think we did cover our topics, and
We just got started. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely, for everybody out there that, is buying silver and gold, look around, find your best deal. We're all in different levels of the ladder. I can't get the best deals for large orders or small orders either. So that's why I like having Ian on, is because if you have some big orders you need to put in and a good price, well, he can get a much better deal than I can on that. So and that doesn't hurt me or frustrate me, or I'm out here for the information and the community, and yeah, if you need some metals or want a piece I have, sure, I don't think it's too bad of a price, but like I say, go where it makes you happy, and yeah,
Yeah, I think that'll drive the business, man. The real world market that we want is just us living it out like that, you know? Like, hey, man, do you feel happy or not? And eventually you'll find somebody that you're happy to do your business with, and that'll be your guy, and you'll always be happy about it, you know? And if
yeah,
somebody asks, you put him to the guy you're happy with. And if he's not happy, he can go somewhere else. It's
yeah,
too big of a world. It's too big of a world not to just look for another option. There's no reason to harm anybody. There's no reason to begrudge anybody, or there's no reason to slander them. There's no reason not to go out and find a good, wholesome provider of goods. You know,
yeah. And I guess I will bring up one more thing, that a good place to see this is in the ancient coin market. And Aaron, who's been in that business for quite a while now, is always pointing out, don't go over what you originally think that value is by very much. Maybe be willing to bid your high bid that you're going to bid, but cut it off there, because there's going to be other coins coming up. There's going to be, the thing is, and that's kind of what I'm saying with, you know be happy with the purchasing, the money that you're spending. Be happy with what you bought it at, because I might, like with my ancient coins, I bought that and I don't want to sell it unless I get a good value. Can you go out there and find another ancient coin and as good as the one I have in the ways that I like? Can you find? Maybe, but it might take you quite a while. You might have to look pretty hard, but all of that stuff is something to think about. I mean, if you want to spend as much time as I did looking for that one coin, which I did spend a lot of time looking at ancient coins, so to find what I like, if you're willing to put in that time too, then do, and maybe you will find a better one. I'm not no one's trying to stop you, but maybe you just really like an ancient coin and you think that I have a really nice one and you want to purchase it, and you don't want to spend the rest of your life looking for that other coin that might match it, then you're happy to pay that price, and now you have what you want, right? Like, that's to me the way it should be being looked at. But to each their own.
yeah. How many of these guys out there belly aching about this stuff it in a safe, and don't look back for 15 years?
That's it. Is like, too, I wouldn't have to put that coin up for sale at all. Like, that would be another way of looking at it, is like, oh, that guy's really selfish, he doesn't sell his stuff at all. Or you might say, if that same guy was like, well, I don't sell it because I'd have to mark it up so much, and you would call me trying to rip him off because the price you would list it at would be too high for him. So it's like, you gotta realize that, and the other thing to take into consideration is that this stuff is what is by the fiat dollar rising in so whether you say this is just preserving its purchasing power, or the dollar is losing purchasing power, or this is gaining in value, however you want to look at it, this is the thing that you want to be in, not the paper. So, and this is a nice,
Right.
great little silver pour from the Broke Stacker, and this is his number one. This is his first silver pour. He did it on a live stream, which was pretty cool in 2024. So this is a cool way to, you know, support the community, is buy their pieces and get to know them, and then you have something that's valuable from them that they put some of their hard-earned work in, like, you know,
Do you
3D
remember what
work.
you paid for that, or care to share?
That one was a deal where it was very unique in that I asked him if I sent him silver, because he's always pouring copper, and I wanted one of his pieces. I wanted this pour, but I wanted it in silver, and he was never using silver. So I said, hey, if I send you, 5 ounces of shot, would you just give me that piece? And so that's like half of the value, or, there's a couple ounces there or something. So I let him keep the rest, and he did the pour for me, and I was happy about it. So that was
That's
how that
nice.
went down.
Yeah, that's the one I really like that one too.
Yeah, and this is my channel round that I'm selling, and it's poured exclusively by 3D Woodworks. And yeah, so this is another piece where you're not only helping me out, but you're also helping 3D out, and that's such a cool part of the community. And 3D is helping me out. And so that's what's cool, is when we all tie in together and help each other out. And we don't complain about, oh, you charged $1 over what somebody else was charging. It's like we do that on purpose because we appreciate each other. We want to help each other. And we enjoy the piece that we got and the price that we paid for it. And we think it's worth that value. So anyway.
And who'd you say again poured that? One more time. Can you say that for me? Who poured that?
The bee that I was just holding?
Yeah. Who
That's
was that one more time?
3D Woodworks.
No freaking way. That was a 3D production? That's so dope.
In fact, yeah, they're all coming. So he has the prototype, but I have number 1 here. And then I've sold number 2 and number 3. And now the first 3 were not marked with a stamp, a number. So, but I know that this is number 1. He has the prototype, and so the other one that was sold is number 3. But then from there on out, he's now punch marking them with the number. So 4 is now up for sale, and it is numbered as such. And yeah.
Cool. The number 4 is almost like a number 1. That's pretty great.
Yes, because it's the first with a number. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the antiquing on it too. I know a lot of guys don't like the antique, but I do.
And he makes them both ways. There's the antiqued version and there's the silver version. So if you like one over the other, just let me know.
Hey, he needs to do like a dual contrast one. Like a bright bee over a black background.
Yeah. Yeah, that
look cool. Or vice versa. Actually, it might look more natural with the bee in black, huh?
Right. Yeah, you could take it either way. There's a really nice bee coin out there right now that I've been looking at, but it's so expensive. But they put a lot of work into it, but it's modern art, and it just doesn't. What I love about the ancient coin art is that was done by hand and thousands of years ago, and it's so small and intricate and detailed and looks so alive, and and now it seems like we can't even get the life in the art, but everything's like almost too perfectly. I don't know what it is, but it's just something doesn't quite get me as much about the new like cast art that's filled. I don't know. It's done with a computer and a machine and But yeah.
Yeah, no, I've argued that with, like, look, I do like a lot of the productions coming out of these 3D printers, like, because they can get more, like, they're capturing all this new imagery that by hand art would have been really difficult to capture, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, with its ease of accessibility, like there's kind of coming a flood of production where even the guys that were doing like unique and original stuff are starting to get diluted, get
Yeah.
their work diluted by it,
Yeah.
you know? And now more than ever, I believe that handcrafting, is like a super precious commodity in
Yep.
itself.
Yep. I agree.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yep. Yep.
And
Just
so
even
support your local artist. I've said it for years.
yeah, and another way people don't realize about the inflation is like even like a precious metals box like this. This is now I spent a lot of time and a lot of work. This is an expensive exotic wood, blah blah blah. So I put a lot of time and effort and value into this, but this thing is built well. It's solid. It's a beautiful wood. And if you were to go try to buy this product in the world today, this would be very expensive. Like, that's why I don't make a lot to sell a lot of them, because I'm like, man, this would be so expensive for them to buy, but that's kind of part, I think, is something to do with the value of money. Like, and if you look at the boxes that you can buy, they're like cheap, crappy plywood, thin, barely gonna hold it. Definitely won't hold precious metals. Like, yeah, it's like we buy junk now that we expect to fall apart in a few days. And I don't know, again, I think a lot of that comes into inflation and just kind of ruins so much of society.
Well, that was kind of like, if you look back into history too, cultures, you know, as it becomes more difficult to live, there's less time for art, music, and the benefit of culture, you know?
Yeah.
And so like the Renaissance back in the day, it really took that wealth, the communal wealth to produce all this next art and music and to revive the whole culture, because people weren't struggling to survive anymore. There was some wealth flowing in the community, you know, and art and music were then re-stimulated. And, we can look in American cultures and kind of see that same kind of thing, that sure, music and art come from within those depressions too. But really, it's once we get out of them that we're able to actually start producing these things again, And so, but nowadays, a tradesman himself is a dying value. So, like, who else are you going to get to hand pour you something? You see what I mean?
Yep.
So, like, we have a depression of information, you know,
Yes. Yes.
and trade and skill.
And a lot of people don't like to look at the information and give heed to the reality of it because of its negative, I don't know, negative, what would you say? Negative effect, I guess. And like OTG is saying there, yeah, some of us have some gloomy looks ahead when you look into things. Sad possibilities arise, seem to be looming.
Yeah. And the best way you can get away from it is insulate yourself from interaction, you know, like in the sense that, like, like when you think about transacting digitally, from one person to another through like a PayPal, how many times does that figurative dollar, you know, pass a hand? How many times is that out of your control and zipping around over the wires from one institution to the next before it finally gets to you? And all this time is you being exposed to the same economy that's failing, you know? And so when you get into precious metals and you use them as a trade good, of money, when you start using precious metals as money, it's direct, it's now, it's in your face, it's clean, it's good, you know. It's good that we should be able to see that to know the exchange happened right now. Like, think about it. Even the cryptos, they're all working towards like instant transaction, like, and trust systems, and like trying to like authenticate the purchase. What's more authentic than the ring of silver, you know, in your hand, that pile, that good, that weight, that density, that value density, that store of value, you know, it's getting the world to communicate on that level is the hardest freaking part. Did I drop off? Uh-oh. What happened? Are we muted? Did I do something?
Oh yeah, I was muted. So yeah, OTG is saying if anyone knows how I can sign up for the hashtag Illuminamish, let me know. And I'm thinking, yeah, let me know if you find out, because I want to join too. The Illuminamish, the Amish.
Yeah, they're really, dude, there's a lot of, like, working with computers. I know this very, very personally. When you're working with computer programs, getting them to do a single function, like, computers are freaking stupid. Like, you tell it to do something, you think you wrote a real good, clean program for that thing, right? And you tell it to do the thing. Like, I want you to do this function, and all of a sudden it's doing its own haywire thing, and just trying to get it to understand a very simple language of motion can be quite difficult. So I can only, imagine what kind of weird stuff pops up whenever you start printing those things out.
Yeah, boy. That's, I suppose, the biggest topic of the time right now is the AI, huh? And the biggest like the propaganda behind it, like that it is all knowing, is already kind of being pushed, like, oh, it knows better than we do, and it's just how do we know? Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
because it only knows what it's programmed to know. Period.
that's it. It's been programmed, and how are we, like, even if it says it's smarter than us, how do we know that it's smarter? Like, that's not necessarily legit. So, if we can understand it, then how is it smarter than it? I don't know. Just whatever. I think that it's definitely not that it isn't going to have a lot of effect. I think it's going to have a lot of effect on the world, and already probably does. But I think a lot of people probably give it a bit too much surety, like, oh, it says it, so it must be right.
Yeah, like, for example, like, one time we were playing with AI and we asked it who created who creates a silver round with crystal osmium, right? Playing with AI. And at one point, it was trying to say Ian at Arcsco was the
Really?
creator of the round. Yeah. No, AI is dumb, because even if you look at the link, it's because he has it just works on keywords and key phrases.
Yep.
And because osmium is in his title, it links osmium. Because Ian comes up quickly, it links it as, silver. Oh, it's not silver and osmium. So yeah, he's the creator of this, which is a picture of mine tagged with osmium. You know what I mean? Silver and osmium. And so it says, oh, here's a crystal osmium silver round. And it's got the words crystal osmium and silver round in it. Ian over here at Arcsco also has crystal osmium and silver rounds. So he must be the producer
Right.
of this crystal osmium. You see,
Yep.
and that's how smart AI is.
Yep.
And it can't even figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 3D is pretty cool. He's a great craftsman.
I got to admit, I'm kind of with you on that last one there, OTG. Sadly, I don't want to be, but it's freaking it is very draining when I look at it and look into it. It's like, what in the heck?
Yeah,
But
and his previous one about chickens and garden, you know, that's where I'm aiming, buddy.
That's what that's what I am trying to keep going. So yeah. And they're talking about that too. Like, I don't know why I shouldn't get down this trail probably, but they're talking
Do it.
about
Come on, let's have out at it, man. Don't quit on me. I'll
they're
push you to
talking
the end.
about labeling everything to the point where our vegetables are going to be like, so if per like we have some crazy conspiracy theorist in the chat here, and we do go into a time where these things kick off, and we're looking at the new king of the world per se, and we can't buy or sell unless it won't only be the product that you're, or the value that you're exchanging for it. It won't just be that it's silver or gold or cash or some other good. It'll be the thing that you're getting, the commodity itself, the vegetable itself that you're trying to buy from someone. Like, oh, I can't walk into the store like with the mask thing. You could be outside the store to buy groceries that you can't go in without a mask. So you ask somebody on the street that has a mask, hey, can you go in and buy me something in the store? And you give them an extra $1, and they're happy to do that for you. Well, if the product itself becomes tracked, then then the good itself is being tracked, and if it goes to the wrong house, that's going to be a problem. Like, even in the with, I don't know, that's what I was thinking. That might even be a possibility with the way they're talking about putting tracking on everything.
Well, we've already signed over all the authority they would ever need to do it anyways. Like, all they got to do is make a choice, and they probably have all the legislation in line to do it. I'm just saying, hypothetically. So off in Narnia,
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. Like, look, if that was the true case, and I probably believe it is, that there is coming a time where you're going to be under so much freaking surveillance. How could you do anything? Like, we look at like where drone warfare is right now, like the ability to monitor, to patrol, to react, to act,
Yeah.
and with the combination of AI, that's a lot of looking out. That's a lot of red flags. That's a lot of ability. And if there's enough people too scared to step out or incapable of opposing, then the system just drives on. And that's, what do? You just insulate as much as you can against it.
Yes, and that's what's funny. Like, when I'm watching these things, and I think about those things from time to time, and
Yeah, sure.
when I watch, like, okay, so they're talking about tracking. They were looking at shutting down gardens in communities. And now, for some reason, it's slipping my mind. What gave? I can't remember the excuses they were coming up with, but they was legit. They were talking about, oh, we need to shut down like gardens in towns because of some outbreak or something weird like that. And So you look at your garden. Okay, so they want to get rid of your garden. And then oh well, you can survive off just chickens and eggs. And oh well, there's this bird flu, and they're culling herds. Like one, they'll find, and they're doing the same test that has been proven to be, what do they call that test that they shove up your nose, that was proved to be like you can test watermelon, and like every third one is test positive for the.
Yeah, I know what
And,
you're talking about.
so they're using those, and they're testing flocks. Well, of course, every so many has a false positive. Even their own label admits to such things. Well, of course, if you go through a.
Well, yeah, but for your safety and mine,
Right. You're going to come up with, if there's false positives just out of so many, then if you go through a herd of 1,000 chickens, you're going to come up with a hit. And so if you come up with one hit, they cull the whole herd. And so, so then you look at, like, if you look at where they're, and I just happen to know that now they're trying to get you, if you're to go to buy a chicken, you have to put your name on a list. And you say, well, why would you put that? And who cares? Go ahead. Well, it's so that when they come around town to town and they say, oh, there's an outbreak in the area, give us a list of all the people that have chickens so we can go cull them. And you see them like trying to, because it wasn't a thing that you had to, back in the day, you could buy chickens without having to tell anybody about it. And now they're trying to get you to, say how that you buying them and that you have them and where they're at. And
dude, they already went through it with beef. They captured beef. They captured pork. Now they need to capture chickens and ducks.
Yeah. And it's funny that those are the things that like are very basic for humanity. Like that's you read old books of like what is kept, like the basics in wars and through is like chickens, and so that's what they're targeting, and gardens, and that's what they're targeting.
Yep, no coincidence.
Yeah, and they have these nice little apps that they use for gardening, and I was looking at them because it gets complicated when you got a fairly big garden and what are you going to plant here? And I'm like trying to space everything out and look. Well, there's these handy little apps you can get where you can put all the stuff in, and it'll show you, you have it this far apart, and you can put these by the, great app, great idea, but do you want to put all of your information in there? Like you would think that these things wouldn't be a thing that you would need to watch out for, but it seems to be a thing that you need to watch out for. So a little bit of a rant there.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the stack and metals. How long? Well, it's like the reportable values. Like they want to know when you spend so much money. And they want you to report for it, like they're squeezing the values all the time. There was a time, I'll tell you what, Grandpa didn't tell anybody when he was moving money unless it was his bank and the person he was purchasing something from. Grandpa didn't tell anybody. He got to grow up in that world without having to worry about that.
Yeah.
And Dad, and Dad didn't have to do it till he was a little bit later in life, and now it comes down to meaningful values that are like what I would consider everyday values, of larger purchases that are reportable now. And now they're talking about squeezing it even more because they want to count every dollar. Now, of course, what do you know? Here's, USDC,
Yep.
There's the CBDC is what they're calling it, but they've already been pegging stuff to the dollar for a while anyways. It's
Yeah.
not a novel concept. It's just the Fed owns it this time.
And yeah, and with the and the whole coin thing, the whole private Bitcoin and all these other coins, such of an end of Ponzi scheme game, like just like the tulip mania. Not that I know you can get rich off of cryptos. I'm not saying you can't. If you did, great, good for you. But the point of what I'm saying is This is an in the game thing that they hang out in front of you like with a worm on a hook type of thing. And the really sad part about things is, if you look out into Bitcoin and in Bitcoin in specifics, when it was created and by this supposed anonymous, just this one guy. Yeah, okay. And right after the financial crisis, and even if it did kick off, it's all the things that you don't want, right? Like all the things that they talk about. Sorry, not incoming rant here.
Well, you said you don't want
a distributed ledger, a distributed ledger that already exists, that's private, that's out of the government's hands, already exists in the world. It's already distributed. Everybody has their own ledger. They know what they have. You don't need to know it. It can't be controlled by government. It's like all the things that they're after is there in gold and silver, but the things that they tout is not there with it. Like, it is trackable. It is hackable. It can be taken from you. It's not even really there. Like, it's a big Ponzi scheme, So
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, when people ask me about it, and they say it doesn't have any real value, I say bullshit. I say it's worth every bit of value and every dollar that somebody put into it. But that's exactly it. It's a giant money pool. Like you're saying, it's just a money pool. Everybody knows what this is about, and you're either in on it or you're not. But I mean, that is a lot of risk you take on. And like you were capturing earlier, it's all these fundamental things that they claim are not so true. Like, you could take it anywhere. That's not true. Like, a lot of countries don't even have the networks for it.
Yeah,
you
totally.
you literally can't get into it.
Yep.
Literally.
And it's definitely controlled by someone else. And like, no, it's in my private wallet. It's like, okay, well, hand me your private wallet. And what good has that done any of us? Like, not, you have to get online for it to be anything, and you don't control online. So right there, it's kind of game over for.
Yeah, I mean, and you can't distribute it without like, oh my goodness, like, I know how frustrating it can be to wait on like a photo to appear in like a low reception area. I mean, it would be a straight heart attack trying to crunch a Bitcoin, when my signal's that low. Like, oh, please don't drop. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it would wrench my heart, trying to send a Bitcoin off right now, from some low reception area. Like, no, it's too vulnerable. You're too vulnerable. It's too inaccessible. And there's nothing to prove it but some electronic transmission, like, and if something goes wrong, that's it. You forget a number, that's it. It's different than your silver, which you can find someday. You buried it in the wrong part of the yard than you thought. So be it. Someday you stumble on the right part of it. There's your shit again.
Right.
But,
right.
But like, but now you got guys suing county landfills to go excavate their Bitcoin hard drive, Like, that's a lot of money, but it's inaccessible to them.
Yeah.
And even then, did you remember the password?
Exactly right. Oh.
Could you imagine your silver in your drawer being locked out by a password like that?
Oh.
Yeah. Dependent, like, if you wanted to get to your silver, like, imagine it lived in a box and you wanted to get to your silver for a purchase. You first had to have a good stable internet connection and a good working electronic device. And then you have to have enough network connection for this thing to communicate with other, networks that take a lot of computing power. Okay. And then you have to remember this ultra secret, super long password. Okay. And then Bitcoin, oh, it's terrible in this regard. Then you finally crunch it, and you got to wait for the transmission to even go through and validate before it even finally sends it off. And then you don't know if it'll be instant, like if you're not using like Lightning Network, dude, it's damn sure not going to be instant. Let me tell you that. And if you accidentally put like too low of a priority, it could be days or weeks till your transmission goes through with Bitcoin. Like, depending on how low on the priority list you are.
And if it was a big amount, that would be pretty nerve-wracking, wouldn't it?
Oh, it'd be terrifying. No, it'd be a high value transmission to them, and they'd probably work on it pretty quick. But, like that kind of computing power, because each one of these Satoshis are being processed, every single one of them. And there's like tons of Satoshis in a Bitcoin, so it does take quite a, and then like, again, they're like validating all these micro bits against all these other, it exists in a million. I don't know. It's crazy. Could you imagine trying to access your silver the same way you got to access and process your Bitcoin? Like I would be furious at this box. I would never use that box again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I don't know, but on that same regard, if you use XRP, it's pretty freaking fast. And I've made a lot of money swinging XRP.
Cool.
I just want to, like, XRP is great to swing with because it's so fast and your transaction fees are low. And if you're like really like Johnny on the spot watching that thing like a hawk, dude, there are so many money making opportunities in just swinging XRP back and forth. Just so you know.
Yeah.
But you really got to commit to it, man. and all crypto is volatile, so
Yep. Yeah, and just know what you're doing in it, right? Like, is a big part of it for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't be if it wasn't for certain little specific reasons, I would have been in it myself. Like, because I was telling my friends, this is gonna go up. You could definitely make money off this. You just got to know to get out too. And I would move my stuff over into metals, but
dude, I was strict, same day in, same day out. Like, even if I was slightly on the low, like whenever I was done for the day, so was my money. Like I couldn't sleep right letting that sit overnight. I hated the feeling. And so like if I wasn't in control of it, I took away the control and like put it back in the USD wallet, which even then I'm like, ugh, gross. So but I'm telling you, man, you can rip profits pretty well. But again, you in and out, in and out. Otherwise, what's the point? Never mind.
Yeah. We have to be able to protect ourselves before we can protect those we love. Good point, 3D. It's an interesting point as well.
Hello, no space miner. Don't put a Bitcoin lock on my silver space.
Oh, let's see what silver is doing here today. The market is open again.
Yeah, guys. Man, I see y'all in the chat. It's hard to respond. Especially when I'm a rabbit trailer, man. I'm hunting every rabbit I see.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's like I want to say something, but it's like, well, this is going to be a thing.
Yeah, I need to learn to tone it down.
No, you're good. No, you've been good, man. No, everything's all good. So we're at 33.86. We're flat.
What?
33.86 silver.
Dang.
Yeah, it jumped up to 34 there last week, right before close.
Man, I'm glad I bought when I did.
Yeah.
I told my wife whenever I bought those silver rounds for the project, I said, I don't give a dang what it is on Monday. I'm putting in my order. Because I said, in a week, I'm not going to give a shit. Yep. Like, excuse my language, pardon me, but really, is exactly how I felt. Like, I was just like, no, I don't care. I'm just going to get it because it's not going to matter soon.
Yep.
You know.
That's the thing. And then I wish more people would wake up to the inflation thing, but I guess, you know, and instead of like putting my energy and feeling bad about that, I need to make my, you know, think on the good things that you can, you know, which would be that I myself have been preparing and know and can prepare, and that is cheaper since everyone else isn't preparing. And, you know, I need to be happy about those things and, instead of feeling bad because no one else is getting in.
Man, I hope the nation is re-inspired with confidence in the market and they all flood the market. And I hope that price comes down for just a little bit longer. The price of my metals comes down just a little bit longer to, you know, make a capture and then let it do its thing. Give me one more year of like, don't go too wild, just enough to keep it stimulated, you know.
Yeah.
Just give me one like slow down year. Let me catch up. And then you can do what you need to do, you know.
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'm happy to see it go up when it does, but then, you know, I like it when it goes down too because just it's a good time to get in.
Yeah, like, dude, I always get that. I always get like the reverse buyer's remorse, you know, where I didn't act. I'm like, oh, I should have got it, you know. I knew it, I knew it, I knew it, and I should have just done it, you know. And oh, I hate that feeling. I hate being right sometimes, you know. Like,
Yeah.
dang, I had that. I knew it. I knew
Yeah.
it. And I was about, you know how many times I've loaded a cart with someone and then been like,
Yep.
you know, I'm kind of
Yep.
pinching myself, you know,
Yep.
and then like the next day it goes up, you know, $2-3. I'm like,
Yep.
oh, you're kidding me, right?
Yep.
And then it never recovers back down.
Yep. Oh, I've been there a few times, no doubt.
You know, it's
You're
not
like
it's not
watching
coming
it.
back down again.
You're sitting there, you're watching the chart, and it's going down, and you're like, okay, I'm about to purchase, and the chart goes back up. You're like, okay, I'll wait for it to come back down again, and then it doesn't, and then it goes higher and higher, and basically you're locked out. And you're like, oh,
Yeah. So I've learned to just kind of like turn that part of me off that's like trying to bargain hunt,
yep,
you know,
exactly.
and just like, look, do you want it or not? Like
See
that's
that
really the
that's it.
question.
Is back to like that dollar cost averaging, like Dub C was saying, and just, you know, put that out of you. Don't worry about bargain down for a few cents. Just buy it where you're at. You know, find a good deal at the time, buy it, and be happy with it, and keep cost averaging in over time, and you know that's how you'll end up doing better.
I almost bought a 1/10 Perth Mint Coral C. It's the one with like the ship in gold. I almost bought it the other day. It was like 314 on the shelf to start. You
That's
know, it's
not bad.
always the start, right?
Oh,
But
right, right.
yeah, you know, and I was like, ooh, I should grab it, and I struggled and I put it away, and then that's when gold went and jumped up all crazy just the other day, and I was like, and then I went back for the Coral Sea, like, no, I'm just gonna go grab it anyways, right? Like, might as well. Like, I don't care anymore. And it was off the shelf. And I'm like, oh, you're kidding me, you know?
Yeah, that's the worst when a product you want is sold out suddenly on you. You're like, no.
Yeah, I should have just gone for it. Now it's up. It ain't coming back. I don't think this one's coming back, man. Like down to the price. I don't think I'm gonna find it again like that.
Yeah.
You know, I lost my opportunity, and and it's okay though. There's more. There's always other opportunities, you know. But the point is like that old mentality. I'm trying to leave that behind. Like, you know, I've been saying to myself, you know, you've been right for a long time about this, and you never gut it up. You never put your money where your mouth is. And so for the past few years, I've been making a real effort to start putting my money where my mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been trying to like buy those carts when I see them, because you know what? Every single time I was right.
Yeah.
And and I'm not being a braggart to say I was right. I'm just making
Yeah.
the point that like I missed good opportunities.
Yep.
And I could have gone down to my pawn shop and got ripped off and still been in profit, you know?
Yep.
And like, it was silly of me to hold on to these dollars that I ended up not spending on what I thought I was going to spend them on. And then I missed the opportunity, and now it's going to cost me more dollars to regain that kind of an opportunity, you know?
Yep.
And so like I hurt myself in not just making the correct decision, because your dollar is just getting more worthless every day. But dang, if that gold is not becoming a better way to hold your money, that silver, that platinum, that osmium, you know,
Yep.
dude, osmium's along like the osmium thing. I'm trusting my gut.
Yep.
I know it. I know it. I know a good deal when I see it. And like I'm like, so what if it's a thin market? I don't care. It's like if
Yeah.
you have a Rolex on the shelf, dude, like it might take a year to sell that Rolex, but when you do, you know what I mean? There
Yep.
will be that value.
Yeah, and that's another good point too, is to then that you had also some underlying, something out. You had some silver and gold too to help take that journey with the thin market of osmium. Like all of those things need to be accounted for, right? Like,
They're all serve a different purpose
yeah, and
and have timing of their own.
and it gives you the availability to withstand that time needed to look for the other, if need be. So yeah, all those things are good to take into account.
I mean, diversity is like one of my like key strategies is like if I can at least keep a bunch of treasure chests everywhere, even though like maybe not every treasure chest is going to be full of profit, right? Maybe it's just trimmings, okay? But if I can put my feelers out there enough, then I also don't miss opportunities anymore, you know?
Yeah.
Like I at least had some profit to be had in that, you know?
Yep.
Something to be had in that. Like imagine if every single one of us had bought a Bitcoin back in the day when it was like $1 and just held on to it for shit's sake.
Right.
Just that was one of my keys to crypto is dude, I would pick like 10 crypto and I'd drop like $100 in every single one of them. You see? And
Yeah.
and I could play those, and like not every day I won. You know what I mean? It was a bit of a gamble, but the point is all I needed was one to pay off the others, or two or three to pay off the others. And then anything after that's profit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But if you could just get one to win, and if it's not winning, don't sell it because it's only a loss if you sell,
Right.
And if you're not winning, don't sell it. And I've got a whole bunch of different cryptos that are absolutely freaking worthless right now. But I've had a lot of them that I got to cash out on some really big opportunities. So,
And another thing I would point out too is it's not all about wealth in money terms, right? Like, so, and for me too, like I knew when Bitcoin was low, I was one of those people, space miner, that knew that I could have got in and knew I could make money, but didn't. And I'm not discouraging anyone who did. And I think, like I told my friends at that time, you could definitely, if if it's okay with you and you know all these ins and outs, you can make money here. But it's also good to be happy. What, like I say, just if you're going to buy something, be happy with your purchase. It's the same way without making, like, so, and like you say, using your knowledge that you knew it would go up. So put your money where your mouth is, indeed. But at that same time, like, also be happy for not making, like, money is not everything and doesn't make you just like, that shouldn't be the goal, or at least in my life, it's not the goal over everything else. And so
right.
for me, I was happy. I knew it would go up. Or at least in my mind, I was pretty sure, that it would go up, but that I didn't want to get in because I have my own personal reasons. And so I knew it, and like, now it went way up, and it's like, oh, think about how much money, I could have made. But I don't, like I'm happy still that I didn't go in because I didn't want to. I knew, and you got to be able to be happy with that as well, right? Like it's not all about the money. It's about, like up there earlier where whoever said that they were hoping for chickens and a garden and a wife or whatever the statement was. But yeah, that's like, you know,
Yeah, get your home right first. Get your
yeah,
home right first before you ever think about putting one silver dime in your pocket. I mean, I'm one of those guys that I believe, like, dude, I really only want to have to spend my money once, you know? Like if it's my land, I just want to pay it off. You know, if it's my home, I just want it paid off. If it's my vehicle, paid off. Whatever I buy, I just kind of want to do it once. And I want a good enough product that I don't have to go back to, that I don't have to restock every 5 years, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And so like once you get your home right, like then you're in the profit. Then you got to figure out what you're doing with the extra dollars. But if you just buy a bunch of silver and you're gonna have to pay a bill tomorrow, you're just gonna have to sell your silver at a loss, you know, to pay that same bill.
yep.
And so you're not doing yourself any good.
Yes, don't overbuy so that you have to sell within a short period. That's probably where the most stackers get hurt the most often. The least amount of understanding, that's probably the most common hurt that they endure, huh?
It's painful. I've been there. When I was early in on it, you know, I jumped in. I'm a lead foot in anything I do, but I jumped in, but I jumped in without enough foresight of like, oh, I still got to take care of myself, right? And so
Right.
when the hard time came and I had to sell it off, you know, it wasn't the right timing. And, you know, and I lost a bunch of silver in the process. It's okay in the long run too. I also it didn't over grieve me, but I lost. And I knew it when I walked in. I'm like, oh, well, I'm losing on this one, you know, but it was still tangible value that I walked in and out of there, you know, and got my bills paid by, mind you. And it's not like you just sell those things off every day. It's not like you can just blow them on anything either. It's got to be meaningful. You know, with precious metals, anything you do's got to be pretty meaningful for that exchange to happen. You know,
Yeah.
like you don't like. Oh, I had an experience the other day. I parked at the gas station at the pump, and I was walking in, and I start patting my pockets for my wallet, and I was like, and they were having card reading issues, and I'm like, oh man. And so I went to see if I had any cash, and I didn't have any cash in my pocket. All I had was like silver. Like I had a bunch of silver in my pocket at the moment. And I was like, you got to be effing kidding me. I ain't got no freaking cash, and all I got is a bunch of silver, and now I can't get my gas and smokes, you know, because these dicks won't let me just walk in there with good money.
Right.
And it was like such a weird, ironic moment. Like, I have no problem paying. I have all the money right here in my pocket. But
Right.
no, they want green paper instead. And I was or some digital 0 and a 1. And I'm like, isn't this more meaningful and real than that? You know what I mean? It was just it felt horrible. I was just like, gross. Now I gotta go look for cash, you
Yep.
know? And yeah, I was back to culturing. We need that culture. It needs to be present. If you can find it from your buddy online, get it from your buddy online, you know,
Yeah.
like from your neighbor, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
like we got to start taking legal tender again, man.
Yep. And it's all the misterminology. Like the fact that we're having to make it into legal tender when it's already lawful money is it big. It's like a big face palm, right? Like, wow.
Yeah.
What are, that's so, it's just so, I don't know what that is, but
It
I don't
was backwards as terrible to me, that experience. It was just so backwards to my mentality. It was like I really felt like a bit of shock. Come on, like kind of like, how is this even possible right now in this world? Like, how backwards is this that I'm holding real tangible good, and it's like you really want that delusion. You guys really, really, really want it.
Yeah.
Because you could literally, physically, don't tell me, oh, I can't take silver. Yes, you can. Stick out your hand. I put it in your palm. Now close your hand. Congratulations. You just did it. Don't tell me you can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
You,
then you have something more valuable that's going to help you in the long run over time. Like, it's just the mental thing.
yeah, and I don't understand why. I see the benefit of like digital transaction, right? Like, it's either that or I'd mail you a piece of silver. You see what I'm saying? So there is
Well, it
something
doesn't,
to be.
like we do have Glint now and stuff where you can, spend with a card the same as with a regular card that takes out gold instead. Like, it's a thing. I mean, so it definitely could become a thing. I'm not sure if the states are taking it. I know there's most other parts of the world, or a lot of other parts of the world are taking it.
Provident Metals is talking about doing that. Provident,
Yeah.
they're talking about bringing that in. Who were those other guys over there in Louisiana? They were doing it. Oh my goodness, they were doing the gold-backed institution with their card. Oh, it was a great product too. Oh well. Yeah, that's really what you need though. But you also need the ability to go in there and pull that tangible. Like, if you don't have an institution to go in there and pull that tangible, you have no idea.
No, yeah, it has to be. You have to be able to pull the tangible or anything. Like, that's. And I think that's going to be a thing for a bit going forward now. I mean, that's what we don't want, because that's what happened to us. That's why we're here where we're at, is because, oh, here, take this little piece of paper. You can exchange it anytime.
Dude, I had an idea for a machine that you put in like a gold strip, like a roll of gold strip, right? Like inch and a half or something, right? And it's just like a deposited layer, a film, a foil, a thick foil, right? Whatever. The point is that when you make your exchange, you could literally just have it dispense like a nice fancy printed tape of gold, kind of like a gold back, and you could literally start claiming that stuff pretty easily based on gold rolls, or gold, you know, like certified gold rolls. Maybe they're like laser etched as they're printed, weighed out and measured pretty much,
Yeah.
to get your value back in real gold.
Well, what's
And
cool is with a lot of the states, they're putting in the legislation, they're putting in specie, which means any form of gold or silver, as long as it's like labeled and pure. And so, yeah, could be a thing. But it's already, the thing is, though, it's like like I said, a face palm. When we move, I am happy. I am actually happy when I hear that another state has legalized gold and silver, because it means that state now cognitively understands that gold is valuable and that we can use it for payments on things. So I really am happy about that. But what is almost even more sickening is the fact that by walking into the legality terminology, we've left the umbrella of lawful established money, which is free will, open market, law of the land, established lawful money. That's what we want. We don't want to be coming under this legal
fiction.
what did I say? Yeah, but legal tender, where now the government is putting their control on it and saying, yes, we'll say that this is acceptable in value and we will do this. Whereas before, under lawful, it kept it out of their hands. They had no say on it, and it was money by the people, but on the open. It's a much better system to be under, than what we're walking into. Even though, like, I get happy when I hear another state has done that, but like, if we would boil it down, that's actually we're not. Anyway, to me, I kind of think we're, I don't know, getting worse than that. That's yeah.
Yeah, like why do we need your approval in the first place?
Yeah, it just gives them, like, now they have their clause in it, whereas before it was just they didn't have any clause in it. It was just lawful money per natural law, and now they have the control
Dominion.
again.
Yeah, like we authorize the use. Like, wait. This wasn't about you. You were supposed to serve me about this.
Yeah.
You were supposed to protect the institutions that we ordained.
Yeah, it shouldn't be needed to move under legal terminology. It should just be accepted under the existing lawful terminology. And the people who don't accept it should just be fine because it's already lawful money. And if we did that, problem solved. Everybody would start taking it. But since we're allowing it to, like, come into this other thing, it's a little bit worrisome for me. But anyway, I know that's kind of a Debbie Downer on something that should be good, but it's like, I don't know. It's why not just have it as lawful money like it already is per Constitution, and why don't we wake up to that reality and
the infringements on the money? Revoke the infringements. Just be like, no,
exactly.
just pull off the bad stuff. You don't need to institutionalize what's already there.
Yep.
Yep.
But
they're doing it on top of this new foundation of what now exists below it. You see that timeline progression, because what they're trying to legally do, not lawfully, legally do, is they're trying to establish precedent of common use. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like no, this is what we've fundamentally done as a society, for all these years, right? And by doing that, then we can establish by case law that that according to that means like that's the norm. And the whole thing is a straw man to begin with that they built up and created, and now they're going after it to say, oh no, based on all of this experience, we're going to now re-outfit this construction. and that's not, and it's like what you were saying a second ago, man. Like, no, it already exists. We don't need anything new. We just need to strip off all the junk again. All them barnacles, man.
Except that we have the ownership and the right and the reality, like you were saying about, you have to accept or you have to exercise it, your rights. You have to know it and do it, and that's what lawful money should be. It's already there. Now we're just asking for big daddy government to say if it's okay or not, when we are, it's already is for without them. Why are you bringing it under them?
Agreed. Yeah. Well, it's going to be kind of curious to see what this nation's about to go forward with some of these court proceedings that are about to be happening.
I tell you.
Who knows how this could swing? What I'm actually kind of fearing right now is like a constitutional convention. Could be one of the power plays that come into move at this time. Because if somebody declared a crisis and wanted to convene everybody, then I mean, we could rewrite constitutional aspects totally, and that could really screw us. And so when we're like a lot of people are really, really, really upset about the whole Doge motion, and the freezing and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of other people absolutely 100% cheering it on. But the problem is when you got such a great division of people arguing over money and none of it's actually freaking money, that's kind of a problem, right? And if these people can't convene on the matter, then they could have a constitutional convention at any time, and it's really going to be a seat count, and that's kind of scary,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It seems like they're really still pushing hard on the whole digital. Like, doesn't seem like either side is slowing down about digital dollar though, and digital identity.
And digital, that's what I've been seeing throughout this whole thing, even back before the election. And it was voter ID, and now it's still voter ID plus some other things about ID, ID this, ID that. I think that's who's behind the curtain trying to come out right now.
Right? Yeah, well, dude. I have no dude, I've been trying to like predict, okay, where is this going? Where is this going? Like very directly, where is this going? And it is hard to see in the middle right now. I have no idea where any of this is going. And that kind of like makes me think, man, there's a couple things that remain solid, and that's what you hold in your hand, what you hold in your hand, what you stand on, what you live under. Those are pretty solid things in your life.
Yeah, well,
And
with gold and silver, that's the one thing I've kind of been saying is that it's the best tool for what's coming that I can see. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to save everything or make it all better, but like it's the best that I mean, and of course, get yourself some water and some food and basics. But like if
yeah,
the best tools that may help you out is that, and so get some of that, and then then all you can do is kind of handle the rest as it comes. But I think it's the best thing for preparation wise after you have your other basics. That's the next best thing to go to.
do we got anybody with us, B?
No, I think we finally wound most everybody out of here.
Oops.
No, it's all good. It is time. We've been going on for a long time though, so
Yeah, I guess we have, haven't we?
we need to wrap it up on this one. But no, it's good. We covered our topics. So
Yeah. Do you feel like you got out of it what you wanted?
yeah, I think I did, and I think maybe I can boil it down to a couple points and maybe put a little video out on it or something. But
Any unresolved issues?
no, I think we hit those pretty good. Covered what
Right.
all the points that I was wanting to. So I appreciate it, and everybody out there, thanks for hanging with us. And we will be back, I'm sure, before long. Got some more videos coming and lives coming. So I think we've got some osmium stuff in the works as well. So much to come. Thanks all for hanging out, and we will catch you guys on the next one. You want to throw a goodbye out there?
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Appreciate seeing you guys. I'll have to do some lives of my own. Spend a little bit extra time responding. So appreciate having me, B.
Yep.
And this is a good talk, man. I feel
Indeed.
full.
Right on.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you all on the next one.